This is Lewis Art for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and William Hill. I'm delighted today to be joined with Ohara Davies. You know, fresh off the Ritson win. You know, it's been a while since then, but you know, we're back in the gym. You're staying ready. How are we feeling, mate?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. It's been about 5 weeks now. I had about 2 weeks off the gym, then I got straight back in. You know, I can't be off for too long because, as we know, I could be fighting soon in the near future.
How's it sort of been for you since that fight? You know, we said, you know, it's a statement win for you. It puts yourself in, you know, great position for a potential world title shot. You know, how's that been for you? Would you say like your mentality has sort of switched in a way, and you know you're more focused than ever now that the goal is right there within touching distance?
To be honest, I was focused even before that fight. You know, I was waiting for that fight for a number of months, so I was focused for the whole of the last year, and the fight finally happened early this year. So you know, I just got to keep that same mindset going, and you know, my life hasn't really changed. I'm trying to be a bit humble now, whereas in the past, for example, when I fought against Dave Matthews and I got the win, I had a massive lifestyle change. I started doing things that I shouldn't be doing, going out to places that I shouldn't be out in, being out with certain people that I shouldn't be out with. Now I've just tried to stay level-headed, stay at home, chill, relax, and just do what I usually do.
How much would you say, you know, you just said that there, but how much would you say you've learned over your career, you know, all different experiences that you've all had, now being with Will, all these different experiences, how much have you learned in your career, as not only just as a boxer, but as a man as well?
I've learned a lot through experience, whereas I feel like the smartest people learn through the mistakes that they can see others make, whereas me, I've learned from the mistakes that I've made. So, you know, I would have got a lot further. I would be a lot further now if I learned from the next man's mistakes. But it's okay. I've learned from my old mistakes, and I got no regrets because I'm happy with who I am now. I'm happy with how I'm going in my boxing career now, and I think I've grown as a man. You know, I've been a pro almost 8-9 years now, so it's been a hell of a long time. So I've grown as a man. I've changed. My mindset's all changed, and I'm in a good place.
You know, you just said there you've learned from your own mistakes, you know, being at this gym and, you know, having early pros as well, you know. Do you sort of adapt like a big brother role in a way, you know? I was talking to Tom Galbraith there, and he was saying, like, you know, he's an early pro, and a guy like you who, you know, heavily experienced, do you feel like you want to adapt that big brother role where you're helping guys out, but also learning from them as well?
I feel like it's all natural. I feed off them and they feed off me. You know, we're in the gym and I like to have a talk about certain mistakes that I've made and certain things that I've seen so that they can know at the start of their boxing career what I've gone through and the mistakes that I've made, so that once they get there, then they haven't got to do the same things. And I feed off them, whereas I feed off their energy. You know, where they got that young, fresh energy and they're so ambitious to get far in boxing. And I feed off that energy because, you know, after being a pro 8-9 years, you know, that motivation, it can kind of die down a bit. And this is why I'm around all of these young guys that are new in their boxing career. And I probably feed off them a bit more than they feed off me. They just don't know it.
Yeah, that's definitely fair enough, man. You know, moving on. News came out yesterday of Alberto Puello, who was, you know, WBA super lightweight champion, of him failing a drugs test for clomiphene. You know, another time in boxing, you know, we're talking about sort of a positive drugs test, and a competitor, you know, a potential competitor to you. Obviously, he's not going to have that belt anymore. Was it disappointing to sort of see that news when it came out?
The guy's a drug team, banned him for life. Was it disappointing? No, because it makes it a bit better for me. So now I get my world title shot a lot earlier than I was actually meant to get it. He was meant to be fighting against Rolando, then they had to fight against Ismael Barroso, then me. So it would have been quite a long wait. It would have been maybe early next year. Now, I believe I could be next fighting for the world title. So, you know, so the fact that he failed, it was a benefit to me. You know, I was like, hell yeah, I get my shot a lot faster. But as for him, banned him for life, and, you know, we got to deal with him quite severely. Otherwise, you know, it's been many people failing tests over the past year or so, and, you know, if you keep on letting them go, it sends the wrong message out to the up and coming fighters, and they feel like they can take a drug and get away with it. If you just ban him for 6 months, ban him for life. Alberto Puello should be banned for life. I always wondered how this guy makes weight. The guy's about 6'3". The guy's massive. I saw a picture of him yesterday. stood next to someone that weighs 160 pounds, that fights at 160 pounds, and Alberto Puello looks a bit bigger than him. And it's not only that drug that he took. I believe he's been on so many other things, but he managed to get them out of his system in time. I feel like this guy's been taking a madness. That's how he's been making weight. That's how he's been making weight and still fighting with that same intensity and aggression in his fights. You know, because me, I'm not a nothing, and sometimes in my fights, you know, I'm fighting at 10 stone, and I have found it quite hard to make weight in the past. Some fights I've had, I'm in a boxing ring and I can feel the effects of me having to make weight. How this guy's 6'3", that big, and he's still fighting so big and so strong? Yeah, he's 100%. He's been taking some shit.
You know, is it disappointing to see where, for guys like you who, you know, you've grafted your way, you've taken the long way out, you know, long way to get to this world title shot, and he was a, you know, potential competitor of yours? Is it disappointing to see this happening for someone like you? Like, do you take it personal where you're like, I've, you know, taken the long road and you're trying to cheat?
It's not only, I don't take it only personal because of that. I take it personal because boxing is a dangerous game, a dangerous sport. And you look at what's happened in the past in the game, you see so many fighters that have ended up having like some brain damage and life-threatening injuries. You look at Nick Blackwell, for example, David McLennan, Michael Watson. You look at what these guys have all gone through in their boxing career. So when you're fighting against an opponent and they're trying to get the unfair advantage, these guys, they're basically trying to take your life. They're saying, I don't give a fuck about your life or your health or your family's loved one. I want my money and I want my belt. And it's just cheating. It's just not fair. They should be banned for life, one, and you know, it should be more done about it. You can't just go and just ban him for 6 months and say, yeah, ban for 6 months and then get back in like Big Baby Miller. Ban them for life, because as far as I, you know, for as long as I've actually been a pro, even amateur, for as long as I've been in this game for boxing, I've never taken nothing. It's not even coming to the back of my mind to take something that's just going to give me the unfair advantage. Every time that I get a drug test, I'm so confident. I'm confident. I know that I'm going to pass it. I've not taken nothing. Everything that I take, I look on the packet. I look at what's inside of it. You know, I check it myself. I don't need anyone to go and to go and do the research in case they miss something out. I do it myself. I've got the list. I check every single ingredient, and it's what everyone should be doing.
That's, you know, I mean, I don't know how anyone could disagree with you there. Is there some sort of positive though that, you know, you won't have to wait as long, and you know, there was a bit of a worry where you might be, you know, a period of inactivity, but now you haven't got to worry about that?
It's a positive in my case, 100%, because I was thinking to have a few warm-up fights and then get the title shot once it comes. But as far as I know, I should be fighting next for it. I know Rolando, he was a voluntary challenger. So now that the Alberto Puello fight's off, Rolly shouldn't be fighting for the belt next. I've seen some talks about Ismael Barroso is going to be fighting against Rolly for the WBA belt. And, you know, if that happens, it's wrong, because Rolly is not the mandatory. Should be the number one against the number two. Yes, it's sad what happened in this situation, and for Rolly, it's not the ideal situation. I feel for him. But then again, the WBA have to go by the rules. And, you know, they can't put a voluntary challenger ahead of the mandatory. It sends the wrong message out. And, you know, as a governing body, they've got rules that they've got to abide by. And if they let Rolly fight for it next, then I feel like they're not abiding by their own rules, and it sends the wrong message out to the boxing community, you know. And you know, I know that Lee Eaton, that my manager, sent a letter out to the WBA expressing his concern that if they let this fight, if they let it go ahead for the WBA belt, it sends the wrong message out to boxing as a whole.
I was going to say, how frustrating is that for you? Like you said, you know, Rolly's voluntary, and then now the belt is vacant. Why would there still be a voluntary fighting for the vacant belt where realistically, you know, you're the mandatory for this fight? So I see what you're saying. So is that frustrating? Do you feel like, you know, Rolly might be getting some like special treatment, would you say?
I feel like 100%, you know. I don't care if he's been in camp for the last 3 or 4 months. No, the WBA have to go by the rules. If they go against the rules, then it's not fair. And I feel like in my 8 years that I've actually been a pro, I've gone through so much hardship. I've been treated unfairly so many times. As you know, I got thrown under the bus all those years ago, and I feel like I've been treated unfairly so many times, and I don't want to get treated unfairly no more. I want a fair playing field. Number one and number two fight for it, and then if Rolly wants, he can fight the one that wins, which will be me.
Absolutely, you know. Does it matter who you, you know, if Rolly and Barroso do end up fighting for a vacant belt, does it matter who it fights? You know, is there anyone out of those two you'd sort of prefer?
No, it don't matter, to be honest. I know I can deal with them both. You know, I sparred Rolly in Vegas years ago. I sparred him in Vegas. Probably 2013. I put him down in sparring. I caught him downstairs to the body shot, the same shot that I caught Ritson with. I caught Rolly with it in his gym. I put him down. It's when I was under Tunde Ajayi. You can ask Tunde, you can ask Rolly, you can ask Rolly's coaches. You can ask Anthony Yard, he's there also. You know, you can ask any of these guys. I dealt with him in sparring, and I've got no doubts that if we fight in the pros, it'll be the same thing.
Absolutely, you know. I just asked you there. I've seen in your social media just as we close the interview off. You've been playing a lot of squash now. How's that sort of been? Have you been enjoying that?
I've been loving squash. Squash is like, it's what I do in my downtime, just to unwind from the gym. You know, sometimes I go to gym and then I go home and then I've got a few mates. We all go out and we play squash. Anthony Yard also comes out a lot. He's okay at squash. He ain't on my level yet. But he wins every now and again, but I win 8 out of 10 of those games. I beat Anthony. But it's what we do in our downtime, just to unwind from the gym and have a bit of fun, and it keeps you fit at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Ohara, I appreciate your time, mate. Thank you for talking to me, and let's hopefully soon get that world title shot, mate. Thank you for your time, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.